This is an urgent appeal from the Disasters Emergency Committee. Hundreds of thousands of people have fled their homes to escape conflict in Ukraine, leaving jobs, belongings and loved ones behind. They need shelter, food and water. You can help. To donate online, search DEC or text radio to 70150 to give £10. Thank you.
Streaming 24/7, this is Brum Radio.
Thank you for downloading this Brum Radio podcast. For more podcasts, visit brumradio.com.
I'm Dave Massey. I'm excited to be joined on the telephone by Susie Blake, who is playing Betty's mother in Some Mothers Do Ave Em, which is on tour across the UK until the 13th of August. And it's in Birmingham all this week from tonight as this interview gets played out. It's at the Alexandra. I've got a feeling that tonight is going to be disgustingly warm, but it's going to be there all this week and it'll be back to slightly normal temperatures tomorrow. Susie, how are you today?
I'm very well. I've arrived in Birmingham. I thought I'd leave London at the crack of dawn and get here before it got hot.
I think that was a good move.
And so I'm safely in the house where I'm staying, and it's lovely and cool, so I'm fine.
Brilliant. And you've got a little while before you have to go to the theatre.
Yes, I shall. I woke up at 5 this morning. It was so hot in London that I couldn't sleep, and I thought, well, actually, this is perfect, to beat the heat. And so I did. Somebody suggested filling a hot water bottle with cold water and putting it in the freezer overnight. And then I put it in my backpack, so I was able to keep cool.
Oh, I think that's a wonderful idea. What a brilliant suggestion. This is the thing, is I only thought about a hot water bottle. Well, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning last night, and I thought, where do I get a hot water bottle from in the summer? It is a very unusual circumstance for us for this performance, and I am going to be coming to see this myself tonight. I know that this tour has been it started and then it got delayed. And it's the second tour for this show. Did lots of people come and see this, Some Others Do Have Em, and they don't know the original show?
I think that is quite possible. You don't need to have seen the original. Obviously, when Joe Pasquale, who plays Frank, when he comes on stage dressed in the beret and the mask, he gets a round of applause because everybody recognises the character.
Yes.
But my grandchildren have been to see it twice. And they absolutely love it. They giggle and giggle. It's just such a good laugh. And there's a lot of slapstick and good old-fashioned farce. It's really funny and quite touching as well, which you think you'll find tonight. The love story between Frank and Betty is very much more prevalent in this theatre production, obviously, because it's condensed, isn't it? So you've got all the good bits of the telly series all squished together, and some quite amazing antics that he gets up to.
Absolutely. Are you pleased that we have health and safety these days compared to what they had in the TV show? Because they didn't seem to have a lot of health and safety in the episodes I've seen.
No, and he did all his own stunts, I believe, didn't he? So, I mean, that was quite risky. Well, Joe does his own stunts, and there are one or two which terrifying every night. Yes. And I have quite a dramatic moment as well, which made my grandchildren laugh outrageously. They thought it was the best thing in the show, obviously, because it was Granny Sue having a terrible time. But it is huge fun. It's a really good laugh.
When I think of yourself, obviously, as a gay man who watches TV a lot, I obviously think of you from Victoria Woods as seen on TV.
You don't sound old enough.
I am old enough.
It was a very long time ago.
People don't say that to me in person, but they do say that to me on the phone. So I'm very lucky to have a younger voice. Do you think that if as you're someone that has a posher perception in the characters that you play sometimes, particularly in comedy and class comedy, do you think that's why people then come to you to cast you in those roles in the future? Because obviously in Mrs. Brown Boys, you're playing the posher character in that show. Do you think that has an effect?
Well, I think when you think about it, I did Coronation Street, so that was Manchester. I did Cuckoo, that was Birmingham.
Oh, I love Cuckoo.
Such a lovely series. And I've played the Queen, so that's very posh. Mm-hmm. And Margaret Rutherford and people like that I've played. And Miss Marple, which I'll be doing again later in the year. and I hope coming to Birmingham. I'm not quite sure if we are. But so I've been terribly lucky. I've been always slightly below the radar, so that I never stop working because I'm not a star. I've never been a star. I've always been a company member, a good supporting actress. And I think that keeps your career fresh because you're not typecast. You know, you can do all sorts of different things. And Mrs. Brown's Boys, obviously, she's posh, and the Victoria Wood character, she was posh. But then, as I say, all these other characters, I love picking up an accent. I love learning a new voice. And tonight, Susie Blake will be a sort of Essex woman. I would nearly said Essex girl, but I'm anything but that. Because she's, excuse me, she's looking for love. She's madly in love with the bank manager, and so she's taking him round to dinner with Frank and Betty. Well, that's a very bad idea, as you can imagine.
Well, this is the thing, is that I see these characters and the interactions that they used to have in the TV show, and I wonder how they're then going to portray on the set as well. Is there one set that we can see, or will there be more than one set during the show?
One set, because what happens to it is really quite extreme. So it starts off really quite acceptable 70s, and by the end, there's not a lot of it left because of what Frank gets up to. So there isn't room for two of those. It takes them a day to put it up, which is why we don't open on a Monday.
Yes.
So it's a big set. And depending on the size of the theatre, it has a little roof and everything. Yeah. So it depends. And the Alex is big, so I'm sure we'll have the chimneys and the roof tonight. I'm sure we will.
Oh, does sometimes, because of the size of the theatre, you have different sections of the set in place? Sometimes
they have to squish it in, and also if there's a rake, so if there's a slope, then everything is a little bit more precarious, which makes, we all begin to teeter ever so slightly as we're walking down the stage. And I do enjoy a drink during the show, so that makes it very easy for me to be tipsy.
and when it's so warm like this, obviously the drink will have more of an effect tonight.
It will. I mean, you don't put people off, because I think that the Alex has got aircon, so I don't think people will be too hot sitting in the Alex. We might be backstage. The dressing rooms are always a little bit warmer than everywhere else, but I'm sure the auditorium has got lovely air conditioning.
Well, I do hope so. I know that in quite serious productions, they turn the aircon off if it's a serious production, because they want you to hear the performers.
Right. Well, we're mic'd up. We've all got microphones.
Oh, we should be okay then. But it's a beautifully old building at the Alexandra Theatre. Do you remember what you've performed there before, perhaps?
Oh, you are mean. Yes, the first time I came up here, my God, it was probably Godspell, but I don't know if it was that theatre, and that would have been 1973.
Wow.
I was alive in 1973. I think that was the first time I came to Birmingham. And then I've been back with all sorts of comedies and various musicals and things. And the Alex, in the old days, there was a hotel that was attached to it, and they used to do a very special deal for actors. Yes. So you could afford to stay right on top of it. But unfortunately, their special deal is now beyond the range of any actor, so we can't stay there anymore.
That's amazing to hear, though, as well. And we are lucky enough to have the three theatres in the centre of Birmingham, the Rep and the Hippodrome as well. So there's always lots of lovely choices for people when they're coming to the city as well. Do you think that people will discover something brand new about these characters tonight?
Well, certainly with my character, because she didn't really appear. Betty's mum didn't really appear in the series at all. So she's been recreated. I mean, completely created, really. And she's a sort of a bit Slocum-ish, a bit. She thinks she's better than she is, She thinks she's quite posh. But of course, that all disintegrates during the course of the show. And then we've got a vicar, and we've got a policeman, and we've got a bank manager. And then, of course, Betty and Frank, and who else? A sound man and a director. So there's a lot of very good, clear characters in it. And as I say, my grandchildren enjoyed it.
That's wonderful.
And people who remember the show love it as well because of that. because it's got all of that slapstick and tomfoolery going on, but at the same time it's got quite a sweet story behind it as well.
My friend that I'm bringing as my +1 tonight is completely obsessed with Joe Pasquale. And she goes every time she's seen him, she goes and does impressions of his voice to him. And she's been practicing this voice since she was about 10 years old. And I'm not going to say how old she is now, but she's not 10 years old now. But she has been practicing this voice for a long time. And to me, it just sounds like a wonderfully uplifting show. I've seen that it's got very positive reviews from people. And it came back for a second tour within 2 years, which I think is just a fantastic achievement for a show as well. I'm really excited to be coming to see this tonight. So thank you for enduring the hot weather to come to us and bring this show to us today.
Thank you, David.
You can see this production of Some Mothers Do Ave Em, which is on at the Alexandra until the 23rd of July, from today, the 19th of July, until the 23rd of July. And it's on tour until the 13th of August. You can check out the websites, somemothersdoaveem.com. And then if you go to atgtickets.com and click on the Alexandra, and that'll bring you up tickets for this week as well. Susie, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to have you come and do this production in Birmingham. And I can't wait to see this tonight.
Thank you for listening to this Brum Radio podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your podcast app.